Hey everyone, this is Jeremy with a quick look at a brand new tool/game that's in alpha testing right now called StoryBricks by StoryBricks, team by Brian Green and many others that have created this. And I call it a tool/game because it can be a game in its own and build up from that when you add the graphics and stuff, but it also seems like a very cool core tool that could be possibly licensed out to other companies for use in their intellectual properties. So this is the alpha, so mind what you see. We can pick up story to play from a host of other players who have come in to test this alpha, and if we just look through and try to pick something random, perhaps just hit begin, we'll zoom right in here. Okay, right away you can see these graphics. All these graphics and assets and NPCs, everything, the graphics even for the player, were created by the developers just to test this system out, this tool. And we're going to interact with these players simply by left-clicking on them to bring up sort of a conversation window. As you can see, here's Corwin. We only have one choice for him to give. We could give him an apple. Corn says, I am in no need of this. You can see in the bottom right we have an apple here. Now this was, done by the players. What the characters see and do. Things like their walking paths are done by the developers. See, I traded a coin for an apple. Now, the interactions were programmed by a player. In this case, I think it was Weem, who also has an excellent video on YouTube showing off StoryBricks as well, and the link to his video I'll put in the description below. There's a host of interactions you can program using these bricks for the different people. He's only programmed one option for these different NPCs. And if a player doesn't, decides to put an NPC into the world and doesn't add a brick for their conversation, there is a basic default where you can greet people and wave to them. So this is what it will look like just testing. If we go back out to write a story, I have one going here, and we can see what the bricks actually look like. Now all these icons of players at the top, NPCs at the top, this stuff was pre-programmed by the developers. So you could imagine how if this tool was sold to or licensed to a company, you could see how somebody like World of Warcraft or Lord of the Rings, they could have NPCs up here for different hobbits and elves, or for WoW for Taurens, and the different even main characters for their lore. And then you just click on one, and wherever you click in the world, bam, he appears. And then he'll be in your list of bricks. Here you can see some I made. So at first glance it might seem a little bit confusing, but like I said, if you've played the series of RPG game makers on the PlayStation, you'll have a good idea of what this is like. They developed a way to create a story, but it's unique through their own tools. And they created these things they call bricks. And they created it in such a way that you can make about as complex or intricate, as long as a story as you want. If I could choose when the story begins, I could click subject, and of all the players, here's all the different citizens and people that I've placed into the world that are down there walking around automatically. So if I pick Hickling as the citizen, I can give him a definition to respond to me when I greet him. And he responds by saying hello. And then you can continue adding more. I could say he responds to me when I offer help with no thanks. and I can keep going with that, and that's what I did here up here with one of the with the corrupt noble. I have him saying quite a lot of stuff here that actually runs off the screen. So that's how you start putting together a story, and then you can start putting things together like deciding that certain NPCs feel sad, happy towards you, towards another NPC, and they want something, and then another person owns something. So that's how you can connect a story to where you can go to the king, and he says, I need a ring, and then you can go to a thief who has a ring and try to get that ring, but then that thief might want you to do something else, and then you have to go do that, and so on and so forth. But that's a very simplistic way. I mean, it can even get more complex than that. I would like to see a testing of putting in an object brick, perhaps. These are all seemingly based off the players, and as you can see, there are objects that can be in this game. For instance, Esmond the mage, I could say he owns a diamond or a potion, whatever. It would be neat if there was an object brick, the structure of the story, and and then within that, let's say, or even within these bricks, the subject was really an object, and say it was the ring. And in the way that you would interact with somebody, like here, interact through greetings and stuff, the object, you could interact through things like looks at, touches, smells, or whatever, picks up, or kicks, a whole host of different options. Similar to basically how you interacted in the old PC games, like the King's Quest series. That's largely how you interacted with your environment anyways. So it would be similar to that, and I think that could actually add a layer of complexity, or a new layer of storytelling that would allow for more variable outcomes to a single story. For instance, the king needs a ring, but the ring's laying on the floor, or on the ground. Say he dropped it behind a house. But there's a thief nearby, maybe. And you could program it. You could make it so it's an if-then kind of outcome. If A equals C, then D equals B, or whatnot. So if you find the ring first, hooray, you found the ring. And then you can give it back, or whatever else is involved in the story the player made. But there could be a different outcome, that say if you talk to someone else first, like the thief, and you say you chose something like ask for help, and he could be like, I've never heard of a ring, I don't know what you're talking about. That might then later, if you go back and talk to somebody else, maybe that might trigger that the thief found the ring first. So if you go back to the thief again, he'll have it. And in that respect, the story plays out differently. I'm no businessman, or and I obviously didn't make this game. So it's just a thought that I had to throw out there. But that's just the initial look at StoryBricks. If you want to get a hold of me, you can always tweet me on Twitter. I'm at Jeremy_Stratton. That and my blog will be listed below, along with the link to the StoryBricks Alpha. And I suggest, if you play it, I highly suggest giving them feedback, throwing them feedback, because all the feedback and bug testing that you could do would be very valuable for them. They also have a Kickstarter page, which I'll list in the description below too. That was a look at StoryBricks.